All right, welcome in everybody. I have another super exciting interview for you guys here today. So one of my favorite clients, Jenny Clam from Beyond Obedience, former owner of Avid Dog Training. So Jenny officially opened up her new business about 6 months ago, moved across the country, and so this is long overdue just because we've been working together for years. And yeah, I just thought this was gonna be super cool because we could talk about how you made that transition and launching a new business and all that awesome stuff. So without
Yeah,
further ado, Jenny, why don't you take a second to just kind of introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are?
sure. Hi, my name is Jenny. Obviously, I currently reside in Texas. I moved here about 6 months ago. Before that, I lived in North Carolina for about a decade, owned a business up there for about 5.5, 6 years. My husband was active duty Marine Corps. He decided to detach from active duty service. So we made the decision to move across the country back to where we grew up, really. So we've been here for 6 months, and moving here, I established a new business. It could have made the decision to work for someone else. There's so many dog training companies around here and so many that I would be content working for. But at the end of the day, I had opened up a business previously and I felt very comfortable with my systems. So I just kind of made the plunge and decided to open up a brand new business as opposed to like bringing that business here. I sold the business to a longtime trainer of mine, one of my best friends. It ended up being a really, really good deal, just kind of, giving the business to someone that was just already comfortable with everything it had to do with. So did that, moved here, opened up a new business, and I've been running that now for 6 months. So I'm a business owner, dog trainer, been training for about a decade. I also have 3 children. So there is another little twist in the story. Anyone who has children, whether you're a business owner or a dog trainer, you know that it just throws a different level into everything that you're doing. So I thrive in chaos sometimes. And that's a little bit about me. So,
That's awesome. I appreciate the introduction. I definitely want to talk more about that too, because
mhm,
I think that could be a really good topic for this interview of talking about being a parent, running a business, all that stuff.
mhm,
But before we jump into that, I just want to talk a little bit about what that transition was like because I remember, talking to you a lot during that time of like, figuring out exactly what you wanted to do and exactly how you wanted to structure the deal and
yep.
what do I want to take with me? Do I want to take everything with me and just move the
Mhm.
company as a whole? Do I want to take my website and repurpose it? Do I want to take my Google business profile? And you ultimately just decided that I'm just going to, start effectively clean and start fresh. I
Right.
believe you took your social media with you, right? That's basically the only thing?
I took my Instagram. Yeah, I left my
Yeah.
Facebook and like my alumni Facebook group and everything there, so I didn't
Yeah.
repurpose that. But yeah, the only thing that I brought with me, yeah, it was just my Instagram. And my Instagram has been my dog training Instagram since 2016.
Wow.
So it has seen me through multiple different companies, and I've just kind of like rebranded it over time. So I've gained a lot of followers, a lot of like engagement from those followers. So I was like, I already have support here that is still going to like keep me I guess active, as opposed to like starting up a brand new Instagram where I had nothing. So I feel like that kind of gave me a one up. It was a place for me to send clients here in Texas to, even though like my Instagram was kind of branded with like my previous Avid Dog branding and different colors and everything. I slowly but surely kind of started shifting into like the different brand.
Right.
So coming here, my Facebook was brand new, my Instagram was brand new, my Google page was brand new. So the only social proof that I could send people was my Instagram. So that was kind of a personal decision on my end to keep that and just kind of move it with me. So that was
Yeah.
being a really, really good decision.
Yeah, and I feel like everything worked out for the best. I feel like you everything that you decided to do was the right way to do it and the smart way to do it. I mean, in hindsight, hindsight's 2020. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like it worked out all for the best?
I do. Yeah. I don't think I have any complaints about the way that things have worked out. The sell of the business in Texas, we know is kind of a little bit funky to start out with.
Yeah.
Finding the right person to take over and having some things fall through. And then, inevitably it going to Angelica was just great because she had been working for me by that point for about 4 years, doing a lot of like the client acquisition, doing consults, understanding kind of some of the back end stuff, not really like the CRM and things like that, but, the sales process and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, finding the right person to take over was huge, and giving her everything. I sold the business for a lot less than what I could have sold it for, but at the end of the day, it was about efficiency and finding the right person. Because I'm the type of person, like especially over the years, I've grown to know and learn, through trial and error, that you want to bring people into the team or into your business that value and love the business as much as you do, when at all possible, right? It's hard to do. No one's going to put all of their eggs in your basket. But Angelica did, and she always had. So at the end of the day, if I was missing out on however much money, I didn't care because I knew it
Yeah.
was going into the right hands. So I gave her the Google page, which had what it was like 200 reviews or something at that time, 200 5-star reviews. So that in and of itself was huge. And I know that was a big thing you and I talked about, whether or not I was going to leave the Google page there or bring it with me and like keep the same kind of business name and whatnot. But no, it worked out so well because with her getting into business, there are expenses, there's ads, there's management, there's everything, right? So giving her the Google page just essentially guaranteed their success, right? Because
Right.
even though it was no longer my business legally, it's not mine, I don't have stakes in it, but emotionally, mentally, I care about the continued success of the business itself and the people involved in the business. So giving her that Google page with all of the reviews was just kind of at the end like a no-brainer. It's like they need that kind of thing. So then, I was kind of left with nothing, right? But like you build it the same way that you build the first one, and that's kind of what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no regrets. I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but
That's
no,
okay. I appreciate you sharing all of that.
yeah.
Yeah, and something that I was thinking about before this, and I think I mentioned this to you before the call started. I always think about how once you've like acquired the skill set and the knowledge,
Mhm.
that's something that can never be taken away from you.
For
So
sure.
even though like you no longer had the website, even though you no longer had all the Google reviews and all the word of mouth referrals and just all that goodwill, and you effectively started over completely from nothing,
Right.
you were able to take a business from zero to effectively, more than 10K on average a month, like
Mhm.
right out the gate.
Right.
And you're doing everything exactly, totally by yourself.
Right.
So, why don't we talk about that for a second? Just because I feel like this will be like really good, proof for everybody and just a really pretty awesome, inspiring story, frankly. So we started together in July. And so
Mhm.
what has business
For
look
this
like
business, we
for
started
this
for
business?
this
Yeah.
business in July. When did we actually start together? What year is it? 2026?
97, I think. No, I'm only kidding.
1995. Yes, yes. Early
It
1990s.
was probably it was probably 2022 or something like that, I would
Yeah.
think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a while. But yes,
Yeah.
we started in July. Yep.
Yeah. And so what does business look like since opening up a new business since July of 2025?
So like business volume is fantastic. I'm not worried where my next client is going to be coming from. Granted, it's just me for now. I am training someone, as you saw earlier. So, that's going to be a slow roll. She doesn't have experience. So like we're taking our time.
Yeah.
And I. So I'm not too concerned about like providing for her just yet. So like business volume is fantastic. I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried about getting dogs on the schedule. So, just the incoming leads it's great. But there's so much that goes into that, and because you're the one who's helped me with 99% of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, business is really, really good. And I have no complaints with how things have been going, really, at all.
Good, good, good. Do you mind going into your numbers a little bit just as
Mhm.
far as like what you've seen like since launching in July? Because there's a lot of people that, they start businesses and they're just hoping to get to a point where like just they turn some sort of profit in their first year of opening up and they're just trying to get their clients. So, you've started a business and had a lot of success. Do you mind just kind of going into like what, like yeah, from like a numerical perspective, like what does that look like for you since starting in July?
Yeah. So since July, we are now in January. So, well, I guess July through December. So half of the year. Last year, I
Yeah.
brought in 60K. That's going to cover
Wow.
like board and trains, which obviously, as we know, are the kind of higher ticket items in dog training. So board and trains primarily. I do boarding for clients only. I do day training. And I don't think I've done a single private lessons package. Thank goodness, because I really don't like private. So yeah, 60K over 6 months.
Yeah.
I took about a month off total, so really about 5 months
Right.
savings is what I brought in, and that is gross. Obviously, there's expenses that go into
Yep.
that. But the amount of sales that I made rounded out to about 60 in about 5 months with the time off.
Yeah, so you took some time off and you're averaging about like if you average that over that time period about K a month. That's
Mm-hmm.
pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations. I mean, a lot of people like never see that much money in a single month in their entire life.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I mean by, you can take everything away and you can strip the entrepreneur of like every single asset that they have that's like a digital asset or a physical asset. But the thing is like, this is why you can see people that lose everything and then are able to come back and build their next business and make it into $1 billion company is because they have the knowledge and the skill set. And I
Mhm.
think that's the number one thing that like is just so important as a business owner is constantly working on yourself and constantly like upgrading your skills.
Right.
Because when you do that, like if you do a good job with that, then the money will follow. If you do a good job with that, then the clients will follow, the results will follow, all of that stuff. You know what I mean?
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. And that goes to say, like, if you're not comfortable, because I'm guilty of this too, when I first started training dogs, again, it was about a decade ago, and I didn't get the level of mentorship that I thought I needed, and like the amount of mentorship I would give someone right now, So like Desiree, she is my new training apprentice. She doesn't have a lick of experience in dogs at all. No dog daycare, no vets, no nothing. She's owned dogs and they have problem behavior. So she doesn't have experience, right? So me straight out the gate, I'm like 3 months, probably minimum, And the learning the skill set early on is just a non-negotiable before
Yeah.
you try to open a business, right? Now you can have side gigs, you can be a sole proprietor kind of thing and like help people on the side for like lower cost, right? But if you don't have a reliable skill set that you are truly comfortable, taking people's money for it, you shouldn't be starting a business for it. So that's like
Yeah.
very non-negotiable. And I see that a lot, unfortunately. Like, everyone loves the idea of training dogs. It can be lucrative, it can give you a lot of freedom. But at the end of the day, if you don't know how to do the skill set, you're just taking people's money.
Hmm.
And that's just a non-negotiable for me. And I was, again, kind of going on a tangent there, but you mentioned like just the learning the skill set. You got to learn
Yeah.
the skill set for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
No,
one.
and that's super helpful. I mean, I just even you mentioned, the term mentorship before, and I think a lot of times people in life like feel like they need to figure everything out
Right.
themselves.
Mm.
And I've been guilty of that. And, just like I'll just figure it out on YouTube and I'll just like Google it. And, now I'll talk to ChatGPT. But
Right.
there's something about like working with somebody and underneath, using dog training as the example where they can show you and they can like speak, to you directly. And if you're not understanding it, they can explain it a different way. And
Right.
there's also accountability. Like if you pay somebody to help you with something, then all of a sudden you feel like, hey, I have skin in the game here instead of just being like, oh, I'll get around to watching that YouTube video when I get a chance, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah.
I think investing in yourself, which is something that you've obviously done over the years,
Hmm.
is crucial. Otherwise, you just stay stuck for years and you never really launch. You know?
Right. And I think that has a lot to do too with like business success. Dog training as a skill set and business ownership as a skill set, we'll call it, they are two different things, right? But if you're going to combine the two and you're going to open a dog training business and you're not quite comfortable with the skill set of dog training, the business itself is going to start going on the back burner, because then you're like, shoot, like I don't even know how to work with this dog. So then all of your effort goes into problem solving a dog that you're not comfortable training yet, which granted is going to happen to all of us. We're all going to get dogs where we're just like, holy crap, like what I normally would do here just isn't working. So like I need to think outside of the box. So that's going to happen. But jumping into trying to start a business too early without 100% being comfortable in your skill set and getting, I mean, thousands of reps with dogs, you shouldn't be starting a business yet, because then the business itself is going to struggle. And then you're going to be like, the leads aren't working, this isn't working, that's not working. And at the end of the day, if you're not getting positive feedback, if you're not being able to sell people with your intelligence, right? Because you need to be able to talk the game in order to do the game.
Yeah. Yep.
And I see that a lot, kind of second-handedly, right? In dog training groups and stuff like that, people want to open up businesses, but they're a very very young trainer.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man, you gotta 100% know your skill set. And I'm gonna harp on that all day every day, and I say that myself because there's been times that I've looked at myself and been like, do I even know what I'm doing? you know
Yeah.
and I'm sure you do it too, like We get confronted with a problem and we're just like, oh my God.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, like you got to continue educating yourself, whether it be in the business ownership realm or the dog training realm, but like both can be treated as their own separate thing. You know what I mean? And if you can't do one, it's going to be hard to do the other when you're trying to do them simultaneously.
Definitely.
And I'm speaking partially from experience too, because I opened up my business after it would have been like what 3 years of training, 2.5 years of training, and that was new. And I struggled for the first little bit, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was because I was still trying to learn my craft while also selling my craft, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it's going to be a learning phase, but
A
yeah.
100%. I just want to say real quick, like I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to say, like, I've seen you evolve so much over the years, and I've watched you like, upgrade, your businesses and just like just different ways that you've run your company. And I
Mhm.
think that that's like a testament to why you've always had so much success and why you've been able to like help all these other people. Because bear in mind, for everybody who's listening, not only is Jenny started her own company, but there's been multiple people who have then like branched off to start their own companies because of you. And
Mhm.
every single time I talk to any single one of them, they always attribute all of their success to you. Like I did a full interview with Allie yesterday. That's coming out soon. You'll see that one. And if you go watch that, she brings up Avidog and you about 15 separate times.
Oh,
Yeah, which is very sweet.
nice.
But I think it's just like a testament to, you have to treat your staff and really well, and
Mhm.
you need to teach them. And because a lot of times people bring somebody in, they don't train them, and
Right.
then like in 6 months, they're kind of like get pissed off at the person. Oh, they're not doing, maybe not even that long, maybe just like
Mhm.
30 days in. They're like, they suck, they're not doing their job. And it's like, did you ever train them?
Right.
Like you
Right.
want to turn them into like a mini me. You want to turn them into like, can they do, the job at least 80% as well as I can do it?
Right. Right.
And if you never took the time to really educate and train them and you're just getting frustrated with them, it's like that's on you as the business owner.
100%. 100%. And like in retrospect, as you said, hindsight is 2020. Like when I first started, I think we talked about this on our last podcast with Angel. I got pregnant like 6 months into opening 5 months into opening my business. And so like I had to hire pretty quickly, because it was
Mhm.
my only source of income, right? So I used my pregnancy to train a couple of people. But in retrospect, I didn't do a good job. And
Mhm.
people that worked for me early on, like they didn't have the greatest experience. And
Right.
getting that kind of negative feedback from someone working for you kind of sucks, but like you have to have it every now and then to kind of look back at your process and be like, okay, what role did I play in your discontent? Was I did I give you too much too early? Did I not give you enough positive feedback? People want
Right.
told they're doing a good job. So like that is something that I harp on now, financially of course supporting them, but also telling them like, hey, I appreciate you. I love you. You're amazing. Here's all the things that you're doing well. And you're doing all these things for the business that I wouldn't be able to do without you. So
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. I've hired and fired a lot of people like we were talking about on the group call the other day. Some things have worked out just amazingly well. The last team that I had in North Carolina before selling the business, just chef's kiss. Could not ask for a better team to be surrounded by. Literally every one of them just was a godsend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that came from years of trial and error of raising people up into the dog training world and training them and being a friend but boss simultaneously. And that's a really hard line to draw sometimes. I feel
Yes. Yeah.
who worked with slash for me has been a friend in some way. And maybe that's a character flaw of mine. I just like being
No, I'm the same. I'm the same exact way. It's kind of like you spend so much time with
right,
everybody that it's like, what are you going to not develop a relationship with them?
right,
It's not like you or I are running Goldman Sachs where it's like people are just like a number. And
right,
nor am I trying to build a company like that. Like
right.
there's people out there that's your goal. You want to build the next Google or Amazon.
Yeah,
God bless you. That's your vision and your goal. That's not necessarily what I'm trying to do. And I want like a cool work environment for people to be able to have a good income, have a good lifestyle, and
right.
like the people that they work with.
For sure. 100%. It's important.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, so, talk a little bit more about like, how do you identify good talent? Because I know for me, like something I'm always looking into is like the intangible traits. So like you have this, new employee that you've hired and like you said, she's completely green. She doesn't have any real prior experience with training dogs. And I think a lot of times people feel like they're waiting for the unicorn to come along in their
Yeah.
business, right? They're looking for like that person who has all this training experience that for some reason also isn't looking to get paid that much money, so they don't have to pay that much for them.
Right, right.
And that they never talk back, they never have like an attitude about training or anything like that. And I just think like a lot of people have created this imaginary person that doesn't actually exist,
Yeah.
because a lot of times if you have a really good dog trainer that has years of experience, like they're going to want to be paid accordingly,
Yeah.
like for somebody to hire you, they wouldn't be able to pay you 15 bucks an hour, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like you would
Or like
require
30% of a
a good
golden share.
salary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you identify good talent? Like what's your philosophy when it comes to like hiring?
Yeah, yeah. So I know that we talked about this a couple of months ago, and you were like, "So when are you going to hire? Like, you got to get someone on the team. Like, you're doing well." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm waiting for like a sport trainer to come along. Someone that does PSA, IGP. I love the way they train, and it's very similar to the way I train. Obviously, of course, vetting everyone, and that's kind of what I was looking for at that time because I was like." I don't have like the time or the patience right now to be able to train someone from the ground up. So I was
Yeah.
kind of waiting for someone that had some experience. And I feel like I in the past have paid people fairly, right? Whether it was based on experience or results, whatever it might be. So like I'm not opposed to like paying someone what they're worth right out the gate. I'm not going to start someone that has years of experience with a 40% board and train. It's just not fair. So it's kind of something I was prepared for. But then I was like, you know what? It's not really what I need right now. I can take the time, I can make the time to train someone up. And this um apprenticeship that kind of just fell in my lap is a good friend of mine, and we've developed a really good relationship over the last few months, just being friends together and moms together. Our kids hang out, they play. And then she was just like, you know what, Jenny, like I need a job. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do some kennel tech stuff. I need help with like leash walking dogs, pottying dogs, cleaning, doing all of the easy stuff, right? And then she was like, well, what about you teaching me how to train? And I was like, if you're interested, like absolutely. And the only reason that I was so on board with that is because as you were saying, like the traits of the person have to match up with what you want them to look like later on once they've developed the skill. So like patience is a big one, and parents naturally have a lot of patience because we have to, right? So I feel like patience is a big one. And I knew she had it because we have kids, and we've raised our kids together for a while. So, I see how she handles her kids. I see that she's patient. She works so hard. She's worked multiple jobs at one time in the past. So, like, work ethic, fantastic. Patience, work ethic, genuine curiosity. Like, yesterday was our first like apprentice day, and it was literally just her watching me train. And just every time I looked at her, she was just intently watching, just watching every move. And then when there was a pause, she would say, okay, so I saw this. Why is that? And then I would explain it. And she's like, okay, so what about when X, Y, and Z happens? And I'm like, brilliant. That's senior level work. We're in elementary school right now, but like looking into like the path, right? Like how is this going to take us into the next, 1, 2, 3 steps? So, future oriented, goal oriented, heavy work ethic, patience. I feel like those three are just like kind of like the non-negotiables in this game because
Right.
especially when you're doing board and trains, it's 24/7 job. So you gotta have a good work ethic. You have to be a self-starter too. Like you can't wait on someone to say, hey, go do this thing. Like you just gotta get up and you gotta go clean the poop and gotta go clean the pee and go
Exactly.
get your
Yeah.
training sessions in. Like you
Yeah.
gotta be someone that can just do it without being told to do it.
Yeah. And like as a mom and a dad, like with, dirty diapers, like there's nothing truer than that. It's like, okay, like you got to go clean the poop. It just is what it
Yeah,
is,
you just gotta go do it. All the poop's
Yeah.
laying on the bed because diarrhea overnight. Yeah, yeah, you just gotta do it. So yeah, I feel like parents, and speaking from experience, they make good dog trainers because we literally just come stock with the patience and like that maternal instinct, which I feel like it can translate to dogs, right? Being
Yeah. Yeah.
and people who lack empathy tend to be the trainers that are a little more heavy-handed, right? I would rather have someone that's a little soft and I need to say, hey, a little bit more, than someone that's just crank and yank all day every day and then like, hey, lighten
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. No, it's like, why are you so
Why
comfortable with
are you
that,
so mad
Jeffrey
right
Dahmer? What are you doing over there? Yeah.
now? Yeah, yeah. So yeah, those I would say are my primaries, just having a good work ethic, being
Yeah.
a self-starter, patience, empathy,
Yeah.
all of those things.
Yeah, like you were kind of like hinting at before too, like reliability. Like I
Yeah,
know that like you're capable of showing up and doing what you're asked, and I don't need to beg you to be on time and stuff like
right,
that, you
right. I
know?
don't want to chase you to do all the right things. Like, if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here at the end of
Right.
the day. You know, I'm not going
Yeah.
to chase someone to do their job. If you don't want to do it, no big deal. I'll find someone that wants to do it, no
Right.
harm. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I want to go back to something we were kind of talking about before, and that's kind of like growth as a business owner. And I think a lot of something that a lot of people really struggle with is, when you first get started and you haven't had good mentorship, you never really had anybody to like show you the ropes. You're
Mm-mm.
kind of just going off of your own gut instincts,
Hmm.
and you're kind of going off of like these arbitrary, what would you call them? Like limitations that you've potentially set for yourself. And I think like sales can be a good example of that.
Right.
So we've worked with people who, we do a lot of sales coaching. I have a course on it, and we do one-on-one meetings, group coaching calls. I talk about that stuff all the time with people. And I've noticed with people over the years when they first get started, if they've never done sales before, or any type of sales before, they'll talk about leads like, oh, that person was no good, or they weren't interested, or they were a tire kicker. And then like we work with them longer. And I've had quite a few people say to me, which is very funny to look back on, like, they're like, I look back on, what it was like in the beginning when I first started doing sales and what it's like now. And I look back on some of my older leads and I think back to myself of like, if I had those leads today, I'd be able to close those people.
Right.
And so I think there's like a deficit of knowledge for a lot of people. And I think dog training can be that way too, where like when you first start out with a dog, maybe it's like extreme, aggression or reactivity. And you're like thinking to yourself, like, no one can help that dog. Like that
Hmm.
dog's just like a genetic mess, like it can't be saved, whatever it is. But the longer you stick around in training and like advance your skill set, all of a sudden you start learning and realizing like, hey, there's a lot of stuff here that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And sales is a really good example of that, where people say like, oh, these leads are no good.
Mhm.
Because the funny thing is, like, one man's tire kicker is another man's like $4 or $5,000 board and train sale.
Right.
And so, do you mind talking about that and just kind of like your evolution, like as like in sales and like learning how to like navigate building connections with clientele and leads and all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So sales, I feel like, is one of those things that either comes naturally or don't. And that's simply just like personality. Are you a people talker, or are you the type to want to avoid discussion? So
Right.
we think that a lot of it comes down to personality. And if you don't have that like extroverted personality naturally, you have to work a lot harder. You got to just dig deep and find the personality within. But I feel like one thing that a lot of people miss out on in sales is forgetting to rapport build and just like truly connect with the client. Like, I listened to your sales coaching course. When was it? It was when I still owned Avid and I was training my mom to be my office manager. So we were kind of like watching it together.
Oh, cool.
And one of the things that you said in there was, don't go in, and I'm going to butcher this, don't go into a sales call trying to make a sale. Go into a sales call trying to help people. And that mentality shift, I'm like, makes so much sense. And like, I've done that, right? But just kind of
Yeah.
doing it in that way. I literally, before getting on every consult, especially, and I know business owners can relate, when you get onto a consult and you're like, shoot, I need this freaking client. Like, I gotta book this board and train. Like, please God. And then you get and you're like, like, please sign up. It's only $4,000. Please sign up.
Yep.
Especially in those moments where, I will feel like, okay, like, I do need someone to sign up right now for like a specific time frame or whatever it might be. I will literally remind myself, like, I will say it to myself mentally, go into this not trying to make a sale, just try to talk to the people and connect with them. And that's it.
Yeah.
And if you answer the phone, just, hey, how's your day? How was your weekend? Did you have anything fun going on? Oh, nice. Yeah, I spent time with my kids. Oh, you have kids too? What age are they? Like, genuinely
Yeah.
to connect, not like, hi, I'm a dog trainer and this is my program and you have to pay me a lot of money to do a lot of things. Oh, well, what
Yeah.
things? I can't really tell you what those things are. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
It's so like, people go into it so gatekeepy, and sure, there are to do's and not to do's, right? You don't want to give so much information that people don't need you anymore, right?
Yeah.
The way that I go into it, I rapport build. We have a good chat. We'll have a couple laughs, and that lasts a couple of minutes, right? And then I'm like, okay, so tell me what's going on. Tell me a little bit about your dog. And then they'll just start listing off the problem behaviors. And I'm like, okay, it sounds like this could be what's happening. And I dig into like the psychology behind these behaviors, and they're like, oh my God, like that makes a lot of sense. And then I go into just briefly, oh, hi. Go into very briefly like how I would go about working on those things, and in just a little bite-sized pieces of information about how I would go about training. And they're like, oh my, like I've literally never thought of that. Like the other guy just wanted to, slap an e-collar on them and do a 1 week board and train, or they wanted to do this. And I'm like, yeah, everyone's kind of got their own thing, and like definitely call around, ask people, but just truly being like a human being, connecting with them, talking about dog training to let them know I understand dog training, I know how dogs work, right? And then going into a little bit about, hey, here's how I'm gonna help. And just those three things is just like, here's my card information.
Yeah.
Obviously you've got to have the right people coming in, leads, making sure that we are targeting the right places that can financially afford what you offer. Because if you have someone that makes $20,000 a year calling you and you offer $4,000 board and trains, they're not going to be able to afford it.
Yeah, they're not shelling out 1/5 of their income, you
Right,
know?
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, some people will get upset about that kind of stuff. And I'm like, people can only afford what they can afford at the end of the day. If you would have asked me 11 years ago to pay $4,000 for a board and train, I would have looked at you like you were insane. And I
Yeah.
sure wasn't going to take out a credit application for it.
Yeah.
So making sure we're getting the right leads in, which is where Kevin comes in,
Uh-huh.
getting the right people in front of you, getting the right people on the phone, making sure that you are being transparent about why my pricing is this way and what all that includes. That way
Yep.
people don't think like they're getting just kind of effed over.
100%. Yeah, and I think you just said so much stuff there that's so unbelievably gold, and you touched on so many things that, like, all the best salespeople that I have ever spoken with and all the people that I work with that are dog trainers all have in common, which is, like, you're trying to make the sale instead of just trying to, like, build a connection with them,
Mhm.
and doing a good job at that will allow the sale to follow.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times people hear this and they think like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I build rapport." It's like, no, if you're not making sales, then you're not building rapport by definition. So
Right.
you need to like go back to that and think about like this is a person and an individual, and people, all of us, myself included, largely do not make purchasing decisions based on like facts and empirical data and evidence. They make it on emotion. It's all
100.
about like, does my dog will my dog be safe with this trainer if it's going to be there for 4 weeks? That's a big part of it.
Yep.
And it's the same thing as in corporate America. People always talk about the personality hire. It's
Mhm.
like, Jenny, I'm sure you've heard this many times where it's like, we talk to a bunch of different people. We just liked you the best. So we're
Yeah.
going to go with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. And it's like if you make such an impact on the person in the first 3 minutes of a phone call where they actually feel like they're getting something out of this, whether it's just like a friend, someone that they can laugh with, talk to, cry to. I've had so many people cry on the phone with me. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you are comfortable enough having this conversation with me, you're probably going to be more comfortable sending your dog to me. And there's
Hmm.
so many times on those initial calls, like I know you guys really push people into in-home evaluations, and I'm not opposed to those by any means, but like even making sales over the phone, I feel like half the time we don't even talk about like the program and what it entails. Like we'll talk about like the length of time and the cost that it is, but they don't even care about what I'm doing because they just like me so much and I talk so much about dog training that they're like, any amount of time with this girl, it makes sense. And if she's telling
Yes.
me what I need, then that's what I need. And
That's exactly right. Yeah.
core building and the again showing them that you are an intelligent person in the field that you're in. If you're just saying like, oh yeah, that's probably hard to deal with, I'm sorry your dog's pulling on leash, I could fix it for 3K, you know
Hmm.
if you want to do that, it's not going to sit as well as like, okay, well your dog's doing this, well does it get worse in this time, does it get worse in this time, what are they typically receptive to, what have you tried, right? Asking
Right.
all of the right questions to really make them start thinking like, huh, there is more to this than just this annoying behavior that I'm seeing.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
It gives them a warm and fuzzy, I feel like.
And so, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like all about just giving them the warm and fuzzy feeling. And going back to what you were talking about originally, a lot of people have that fear of like giving away too much information. And, in a way, like, okay, I can understand that. I understand it in the sense of like, you don't want to get bogged down in minutia when you're on sales calls. Like, it's not for that.
Right.
I think a lot of people confuse this. They think like the person didn't buy from me because I just gave away too much information. And I'm like, it's not actually that. It's that like you weren't focusing on talking about the right things with them. Maybe you nerded out over dog training and stuff like that. And like you used a bunch of language that confused them.
Yeah.
And sure, can there be people who are like, get like a piece of advice from you and they're like, you know what? Yeah, that was like the thing that made it click. Okay, great. They were never going to be your client in the first place. But what I always think about is like,
Sorry to interrupt. I
that's
just
okay.
had this happen. I had probably a 10-minute phone call with this man who he was an older guy. He took his dogs for like an evening drive throughout the neighborhood every day. And it's just like their little drive. Like they just had a good time and otherwise like his dogs were well behaved. We all know that everyone says like other than this one thing the dogs are great. They're probably not. But like
Yeah.
so I had a 10-minute phone call, 10 minutes out of my day. We just talked. And I was like, "Hey, why don't you just try this? Just try it and just see how it goes." And he's like, "You know what? I've done that before and it worked. Like, thank you for that. I'm going to try it." The next day, he's like, "Jenny, you are a godsend. That was amazing. Thank you for not just trying to steal my money and just genuinely trying to help me." Got a Google review out of it.
I was going to say that must have turned into a Google review.
100. He said, "How
Yeah.
can I refer people to you? Because you are," he said, "San Antonio is blessed to have you." 10
Oh,
minutes.
wow.
Okay. That's all it took, and having that kind of just genuinely helpful, empathetic heart and being willing to shell out a little bit of just insight periodically for like because I could have said like, "Oh yeah, we got to do a 2-week custom board and train for that so I can introduce this and do that and do this." Or we could have just solved the problem right then and there versus me just trying to take $4,000 from him. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
at the end of the day, we need to make money for sure. And there
Hmm.
are times in which more training is necessary for sure. But at the end of the day, when people can tell you genuinely just want to help and that you care about their success, like that in and of itself, I can guarantee if he has a problem a week from now, he's going to call me and he's going to sign up for training because the one thing I told him to do worked. And
Yep. Exactly.
if he has a neighbor that's like, "Hey, your dogs are really good." Oh, call this girl. She knows her shit.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
So,
goodwill.
yeah.
It's goodwill in the business. Like you spread goodwill and people that, you thought you had this like short interaction with them, but had a really positive impact on them. They'll go out and sing your praises to a lot of different people.
Right.
I've had people that are like, don't work with us.
Hmm.
This happened very recently with a guy who referred somebody over to us. He's like, "Hey, I'm busy. I don't necessarily, I've been running my business for 10 years. I got a lot of word of mouth referrals in this area, but I have a friend who's looking to launch and, I feel like he could benefit from him." And like this guy had been following me for years and like,
Hmm.
we had small interactions, but you never know how things are going to work out for you in that regard. But I want to go back to something for a second because the whole thing of giving away too much information.
Hmm.
So many successful entrepreneurs have written books on this. Like I read a book years ago by Gary Vaynerchuk it's called Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? And so it's like the idea is you give a lot of value over and
Right.
over and over and over, and you like warm up your audience and you build an audience, and then all of a sudden you ask. And the ask is so much better received than like asking a cold audience to buy from you.
Right. Right.
It's the same thing with Alex Hormozy when he's like written these books, $100 million leads and now he launched, $100 million money models, that book, right, a couple months ago. And he had a book launch and he, keep in mind, gives all this free YouTube content away, all this free Instagram content away. You go to acquisition.com and there's a course on there on how to build a business and how to grow your company. And it's not gate kept at all. There's no like enter your email. It's all just there for you. But
Right.
when he did his book launch, they broke the Guinness Book of World Records in like most books sold in 24 hours
Right.
for nonfiction, right? And he made, I think, over $100 million in sales between books and coaching programs he sold. So
Right.
he gave all this stuff away. And then when he finally asked, people bought $100 million worth of stuff from him. And so, like, people are like, I'm scared to give away too much information. It's like, trust me, you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Dog training is one of those things. It is too intricate that you
Yeah,
cannot teach someone how to teach their dog X, Y, and Z on a phone call.
that's exactly it.
Like people aren't going to understand it anyway. Like the actual act of doing it, listening to it and comprehending it is one thing, but then getting a leash in your hand and actually following through, they're going to be like, "This is a lot harder than she made it out to be, but she knew what she was talking about, so I'm going to call her back." you know?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. You just because you give them like a 10-minute phone call or even an hour-long phone call where you
Mhm.
go into it and explain it to them, like, first off, if you do a good job of that, people are gonna read between the lines and go like, "Okay, I'm seeing how much is involved here, and I just want you to take care of it anyway." Like, that's the big thing with board and trains that I think a lot of people miss the mark on, is a big part of the selling point is like, the dog owner is like, "I don't wanna do the work. I
Yeah.
want you to do it for me."
Mhm.
And it's not that they're like, "I'm just missing the knowledge." A lot of it is that, right? That's obviously a massive factor in it, but there's a lot of people who are just like, "I just want you to take care of it."
Yeah.
And so, I think that's why that model works so well. So, yeah, this is just to say, I think obviously don't get bogged down in like minutia of dog training and like why you're doing. It's like I had a mentor tell me one time, it's like focus on the why, not the how. So
Right.
like you would want to focus on like, hey, here's why it's important to crate train your dog,
Right.
not this is how you go about crate training
Right.
your dog. You can go into some of that,
Yeah.
but you're not going to turn it into like a seminar over a phone call,
Right,
you
right.
know?
Okay, go do this thing and then come back and check in with me in a couple minutes. Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna
Yeah.
do all of that, but giving them a little introduction on like, yeah, just a 30-second snippet on how I would do it, right? To where they're
Yes.
like, okay, that makes sense. But like what are the steps to get there? And that's where you're like, well, here's what we could do. We could
Yeah.
do a board intro, or we could do this, or we could do that. Like whatever's gonna fit your needs and your budget and your timeline is what we can do. But
Yep.
here's where we can get you, you know?
Totally, totally. So I know you're limited on time because I know you have other things you want to get onto today. So I just want to ask you two quick questions. Okay. I don't know if these are gonna be super quick, but one will be quicker than the other, I promise.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier in this call that I wanted to touch on this topic because I know there's a lot of parents out there who are running businesses. I have two kids myself, and I wanted to hear from you. Like, it's not an easy thing to do, especially as mom, like I just know like all the work that my wife does, my wife Jamie, and obviously that I'm so appreciative of and stuff like that allows me to kind of, focus on the business during the daytime.
Yeah.
And so like how do you go about juggling all of that? Like how do you like structure your day and get everything done?
Yeah, yeah. So in North Carolina, when I guess my life hasn't really changed, but when my husband was active duty military, he was gone all the time. There were very few times throughout like the week or the weekend that he was home consistently. It was either training or deployments or this or that. So at that time, I had Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 childcare. That was a godsend. Like I would not have been able to do it without that. And truly before then I had the Monday through Friday 8 to 5 childcare maybe for like the last 2 years in North Carolina. But before that I had a nanny. I had part-time nannies, I had full-time nannies, whatever it might be. So just the help is just totally necessary. Right now, I only have Monday, Wednesday, Friday childcare. So Tuesday and Thursday, my two youngest kids are home. My oldest is in actual school, so he's gone Monday through Friday. But I would say, having help, whether it be like legitimate professional help, like a nanny or daycare, or just friends and family to aid with the children when you're not able to be fully present. So that's the big one. Like, don't
Mhm.
try to take it all on. Like Allie, I'm sure you guys may have talked about this a little bit. She doesn't have as much childcare as I do, as far as like lengths of time that the kids are like with someone. And
Yeah.
holy moly, Jenny, like this is hard. I'm like, yeah, you got to enlist some help because
Yes.
you're not going to be able to do your job right, and you're not going to be able to be the best parent when you're trying to do them all together at the same time. It's
Mhm.
just impossible. Because kids, especially young kids, they need constant supervision. Dogs need constant supervision. So one of them's going to get neglected at some
Right.
point. You know what I mean?
Right.
So enlisting help, friends, family, daycare, nanny, whatever you want it to be, have just set aside time where someone is either watching the kids at home with you so you can pop in and say hi and give them hugs and kisses and love and everything, and then you can go back outside and do your job, or hire a kennel tech or a part-time trainer or something so that you can be fully present with the kids during the day when the dogs need to get worked. So that's a big one. It's just enlisting like the physical help to help with the kids so that
That's great advice.
yeah, so that you can do both jobs. Because again,
Yep.
one of them is going to fall on the back burner if you're trying to do it all. Like we were talking about earlier with dog training and business ownership. Like you've got to be able to tackle both of them simultaneously. And if you can't, you got to enlist some help. So that's the main one. And then scheduling out your days to where like at some point I am done with dogs, I am done with clients, and mine typically is around like 5:30 p.m. All of my kids are home by 3:30, so typically like 3:30 to 5:30 I'm still kind of like rotating dogs. I'll get like dinner done and everything, and then after that the dogs are crated for a couple of hours and I am present with my kids. We're doing dinner, we're playing games, we're going outside hanging out. I'm spending time with my personal dogs for the first time of the day. So scheduling out your day, right? So having a few hours in the afternoon or in the morning where just dogs are away and you're spending time with the kids. I am the type of parent that, and I feel like most parents should be this way, but I know that there are some that are not. But like I love being with my kids. I love being around my kids. Being away from my kids sucks and it hurts. So like
Yep.
I try to schedule out time to ensure I'm doing my job to the best of my abilities, updating my clients, keeping them happy. But then at some point, even they understand like there's a cutoff. I'm with my kids now, like we're not talking.
Mhm.
I am no longer active on social media. I don't do hardly any client updates on the weekends, and they know that. That's my time with my kids. So I no longer have dogs on the weekends either, unless they're boarding or it's like an emergency case where I need to keep the dog over the weekend. I will. But yeah, so my weekends are pretty wide open for my kids now. So that took me a long time to learn. Again, I've been doing this for about a decade, and I've had kids now for almost 7 years. My oldest is almost 7, so it's taken some time to really get used to. But it's hard. It is really, really hard being a business owner and a dog training business owner, because you're both. You're not just a business owner or just a dog trainer, especially if you're the only person on your team, you're doing everything.
Yep.
So it's tiring. It's exhausting. And
Yep.
um, may the force be with you, because it's
That's
hard.
great advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's funny. I did a video the other day where I responded to a lot of like comments we got on one of our posts in our group, the dog trainer community.
Mhm.
And a lot of people were asking questions about like, how do I, solve this problem in my business? Like I hate doing the books. I
Yeah.
hate the paperwork. I hate having to process payroll. And what I said like 3 times in a row, and it really hit me like a ton of bricks, is like there's going to be a moment in your business where you need to hire somebody. And
Yeah.
if you keep asking yourself, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? I don't have time for this. It's like
Yeah.
you may just not have the time.
Right.
And I think that being a parent and running a business is very much so like that.
Hmm.
Where my wife and I made a decision a couple years ago. Like we labored over it when our son Ben was born, and he was about 10 months old. Like, what do we want to do? Do we want to keep him home? Are you going to leave your job? Are we going to send him to daycare?
Right.
And all of that. And what we decided on, we ultimately ended up, like getting some help, and then he went away to daycare and stuff like that, which has been fantastic for him. But
Hmm.
that's a whole different conversation, I guess. But the point is like what I said to my wife Jamie is, in a way, I hope this doesn't come across sounding a little bit like weird or something like that, but like it is an investment in your business as well, which in turn is an investment in your family to get yourself free time.
Yeah.
If you're a parent and you're like full-time parent and trying to run a successful company and your kids are around 24/7 and
Yeah.
you're like, why is it not working? Why am I not succeeding? Why is this not getting going? It's like, because it's impossible to do both at the same time.
It's impossible to be a parent in general. Like it
Yeah.
is the hardest job, like by far. And because you're raising little humans, so they're
Yeah.
they're learning good and bad the same way that dogs are. I tell my clients that all the time, especially my clients that have kids. I'm like, compare your dog to a toddler. They can
Yep.
see vision, they're learning like all the good and all the bad. But it's just impossible, yeah, to try to do all of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
just enlisting help, and also, as you said, like investing in yourself as much as possible. Like when I
Yep.
have time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, when the boys are at daycare, like I'll go get a massage if I've got like a spare hour and a half to like
Yeah.
I'm gonna rep my dogs in the morning, and then I'm gonna go do something for me. I'm gonna go
Good. Yeah.
coffee. I'm gonna go grab lunch with my sister. I'm gonna go get a massage, a pedicure, something like that. Because if the only things you're ever doing is like taking care of this or taking care of that, like you're not taking care of yourself. And
Yes. Yep.
pour from an empty cup, as everyone says. So,
Yep. No,
um,
totally. That's how I feel about working out. Like for me, like I was something I let just like fall to the wayside for so long.
right,
And then I was like, wait a second, like you're the one who's entirely in charge of the schedule here
yeah,
and the way that like things function around here. And, you're telling yourself you don't have time to do that. Just make it a non-negotiable and make it as important as like, this is when this gets done. And even if that's at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's okay. Is that as optimal as doing it at 6 a.m.? No,
right,
but you're not doing it at 6 a.m. So just do it at 10 And yeah, you have one less hour during the workday. But what I found is like by giving myself an outlet to do other things, it's made me much more efficient in my business
Yeah.
because like I feel like I have some sort of freedom outside of just like fixing problems, putting out fires, and just trying to grind it out to force this thing to grow. And it's
Yeah.
like life shouldn't be about that?
Yeah, I think we touched on that on the group call too, like the hustle mentality. It's like no one cares, work harder. Cool. How's your mental
Yeah.
health?
Yeah,
Like, are
yeah,
you
yeah.
doing okay? Like, you're making money. That's great.
Bro,
Everyone
you
wants
are
that.
not doing well. You are
You
not
are
doing well. And you
moving.
just keep telling yourself that?
Right, right. Like, how much
Yeah.
sleep are you getting? The sleep is
Yeah,
important.
totally. Yeah. And what's so funny too? It's like you also you hear that from people who, yeah, maybe they have a successful business, but there's levels to this shit, as people say. And like you look at a guy like Mark Cuban, right, who is, the epitome of success, right? Like he's literally an investor on one of like the most successful shows of all time on Shark Tank. And
Yep.
it's like you'll see him, on Instagram doing like a fitness class in like the middle of
Hmm.
the day.
Yep.
And you hear all these people talk about this like afterwards, like after they've had all this success where they're like, I wish I didn't just do that. I wish I like gave my time to other things as well. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you can look at that and go, that's easy to say once you've reached the top of Everest and you've already accomplished all your goals and you can look back and maybe there is a season in your life where you need to grind it out. I think for a lot of us that does exist. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, what is all of this for?
Right.
If you don't actually enjoy the fruits of your labor ever,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
you know?
100%. If you're just slaving away all day and you're going to bed at night, just like, and you feel
Yeah.
like no true intrinsic value for like what was
Yep.
accomplished aside from doing your job, which yeah, should feel good, should feel valuable, but like you got to treat yourself with care and love and respect too. And for
Right.
the way I treat myself is getting coffee and staying up late and watching The Walking Dead. But that's what
Great
I
show.
do. You work out, good for you. I love that. Wish I could do
I don't want to sound like a total
that.
hardo or something. It's like 3 days a week. Okay. It's really not that
Dopamine is
intense of a workout.
dopamine, all right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. All right. Well, so one last thing, one last question, and I promise we can wrap up. So you've done this twice now. You've launched two really successful dog training companies. The question I always like to finish up with is like, what is the advice that you would give to somebody who's in the situation now that you were in years ago when you were like trying to figure it out and didn't know where to go? And they want to have a successful dog training company. So you knowing everything you know now, what is the advice that you give to that person?
Yep. So, finances is of course always something to take into consideration what you're able to put money into. Frankly, back in the day, I would have thrown a professional website on a credit card. Worst case scenario, get a professionally done website, hire a marketing team such as Top Dog Advertising. I have worked with how many, Kevin? Like five or six advertising agencies. By far, like literally no comparison. You guys are top of the line in every way. So that's number one. And I know that I've sent multiple people your way that
Yeah, I appreciate that.
thing, right? Like, hey, don't waste your money with X, Y, and Z. Go straight to Kevin. So that's definitely number one. So hire Top Dog if you're a dog trainer. Get a professionally done website because not just is it going to look better, it's going to make people want to stay there and look at it, but it's also going to help with your SEO. So you're going to actually start pulling up organically. Quicker, of course, you're pulling up organically. You're saving yourself money on advertisement too because you're bringing people in that are finding you just through Google.
Yep.
So get a professionally done, optimized website. Get a really beefy Google business profile. If that means you have to have family leave you reviews, friends leave you reviews, a review is a review, right? So try to collect
Yep.
reviews from people for numbers, but then also from happy clients. So get a good Google business page, optimize that. Thanks, Kevin, for optimizing mine. You can have posts on your Google page. You can have people write reviews with like optimized words, right? Dog trainer in San Antonio, best dog trainer in San Antonio. She taught my dog leash walking, this, that, whatever. So optimize
Yep.
your actual Google business page so people can find you. And oh gosh, those are definitely the top three as far as like the to-dos. Number one, of course, learn the skill set. We already talked about that. Be comfortable with the skill,
Hmm.
and then just be ready to grind it out truly. Like when you are starting a business, you shouldn't really have off days. You shouldn't. You should
Hmm.
feel like you're dying. And that's okay because diamonds are made through pressure, right? As they
Right,
say.
right, yeah.
So work your ass off and talk to people, network, go out and train your own dogs, speak with people when they ask you questions, be a just an excitable person, you know, someone that people gravitate to and they want to speak with, and build your brand in a way that your market is going to like it, right? Avid Dog, it was orange, blue, it was bright, it was beachy, right? We were right next to Wilmington's, Topsail Island. It was a very beachy vibe. So I had lighter colors, neon colors. Here in the hill country, it's deeper tones, it's more professionalism, it's dark blue, it's dark green. So, you know, build your brand according to your market, build your business name appropriately. Like, you know, business names are a lot. You know, you want to just call it kind of, if you want to call it something funny or silly, that's fine and it's cute and it's whatever. But if you're looking at, especially like ads, if ads are popping up one right after the other, and you see a business name that like actually screams dog training, like, okay, you know, eyes obviously are gonna go toward that one. So like choose a business name that makes sense for the market that you're in, and a brand that fits the market that you're in. So yeah, yeah, I would say those are probably my biggest pieces of
That was
advice.
an absolute masterclass. I appreciate you sharing all that. It's
Yeah.
honestly all
Hire
so
me for your next
unbelievably true.
masterclass.
Well, listen, I don't want to keep you all day. I know you have other things to get on with as well. But do me a favor. I'm gonna wrap things up here. But do me a favor, hang on for a couple minutes afterwards. But I just want to say sincerely, Jenny, thank you so much for doing this because you've obviously been working with me for years now. We've obviously developed like a friendship and just a great
Mhm.
relationship. So I always love talking to you and getting the opportunity to talk about this because as stated previously, you've done this multiple times, and
Yeah.
so it certainly couldn't ever be considered a fluke thing. Like you've been able to replicate this in different markets and, just in different phases of your life and stuff like that. So it's all super, super impressive. So
Well,
with
thank
that being said, we're gonna wrap this up for now. But if anyone who's listening to this, like, if you guys are got anything out of this and you're feeling like, hey, I could use some help with marketing, always feel free to reach out. I mean, there's no hard sale, there's no pressure to buy anything. We're just going to see, if we're even a good fit to work with you guys, and we can just take it from there. So, with that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. And I appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys all very soon in the next one. See you guys.